Hey guys, what's up? Cartoon Earth Boy 2 here. Now before we get into today's video, I have a few things to say about my channel and why I haven't been making videos for a while. First off, I know that running a YouTube channel is so much hard work, especially for a guy my age. Currently, I'm in high school and in the 11th grade. It's considered the hardest year of high school. I should know because some of my friends are going through the same thing and have told me in person. It's usually hard for me to manage my time, and that's one thing that's interfering with my channel, but not in a bad way. I'm just less active. And speaking of my channel, you may have noticed that most of my videos consist of gameplays of Just Dance games. Apparently, you only see me dancing because I don't own a capture card. Usually, I use my phone to record myself, which I don't mind doing. Those videos, to me, are the simplest ones I can make. But the reason I'm bringing this up is that there are other YouTubers out there that make Just Dance videos, but then their videos had to be taken down because of Ubisoft's new policy on recording footage of the games. Since I'm a Just Dance fan, the same thing might happen to me, except it didn't. My videos were never taken down, which is good, but that means when I make Just Dance videos again, I'll have to hold my phone farther away when recording my TV screen. From now on, Ubisoft, the company that created the Just Dance franchise, wants at least 25% of the video to contain the gameplay footage. It's going to be a struggle when I eventually get back to making Just Dance videos. Since I'm not making this video to fully explain the Just Dance situation, you can at least check it out for yourself. If you want to know how a YouTuber named Arthur Videosong had to deal with having his content being taken down as requested by Ubisoft, you can watch his video listed down below. Anyway, those are some updates regarding my channel, but this video specifically is regarding something else. Listen closely because what I'm about to tell you will describe the events that led me to why I'm making this video. It all started when I was in first grade. One fine day at school, there was a period of time where me and the rest of my classmates got an opportunity to visit the computer lab. Many kids in school know the computer lab as a time where you can just have fun on the computer, but really just to visit websites with learning activities that keep you going. The experience was nothing but a great time to take a break from sitting on a carpet and having to listen to the teacher talk all day. During my first grade year, my class would most likely visit the computer lab a few times a month. I don't exactly remember the schedule because it's been about 10 years ago. For each visit, we would usually have a different website to go to each time. However, one particular visit to the lab was one that I'll probably never forget. The website chosen for us was kids.nationalgeographic.com, or as you guys know the site as National Geographic Kids. Of course, there were games that you could play on that website, each containing interesting facts about life on Earth. Well, most of them anyway. Knowing that you could learn a lot while playing those games was packed with such excitement. It's like I never wanted to leave the site. So while we were exploring the website, at some point during the period, a student who was right next to me was playing a game where you have to make your way through a cave. I wanted to find that game myself, and surprisingly it didn't take me long. There are a lot of games on that website, and of course, they are in categories. I tried that game for myself. It was very hard, so many obstacles, traps, and it was also dark in-game. You were only allowed to see a few feet ahead of you. After a while, our visit to the computer lab was over, and the school day continued and ended as usual. And so, that left me with a lot of thoughts about what happened that time at the lab. One day, at home, when I got bored, I figured I would explore the National Geographic Kids website for myself. Obviously, I went to that same game my fellow classmate played alongside me. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have been able to remember. So you might be thinking, such happy times, right? I actually have a lot more to share with you. I understand if some of you might be bored that I'm talking too much, and that I'm hesitating to tell you the answer to the question you guys have been waiting for. I promise you, you are not being clickbaited. I will cover my next upcoming topic quickly. Just hang in there. So, about my memories, if any of you watching this video live in my general area, you have obviously seen my social media accounts, specifically my Facebook account. My profile is jam-packed with posts containing my absolute favorite times from the 2000s decade. If any of my friends are watching this, hopefully you're okay with seeing my unnecessary posts when I don't need to show them. But guess what? Don't judge me, alright? I'm sorry, okay? We cool? Good. Basically, I'm all about nostalgia. As of my freshman year in high school, social media wasn't that big of a problem. Mostly, I just mind my own business, and mostly post, well, what I enjoyed. That's me in a nutshell, one who's doing anything to keep happy memories with them. And guess what? I have so many memories of mine to list. Let's say TV shows, for example, consisting of specific shows that I first saw when I was around 5 to 12 years old, with Dragon Tales, Word World, and Saga from PBS Kids, Handy Manny, Special Agent Oso, and Mickey Mouse Clubhouse from Disney Junior, and regular show, The Amazing World of Gumball, and Teen Titans Go on Cartoon Network. One of my close friends, without a doubt, has also watched all these shows that I just listed. I should know because he told me in person. For some of you guys watching, you might just think I'm being silly, but there's a reason I'm bringing this up. It's because I'm a family-friendly person. So usually on my social media accounts, I would brag to others that I'm family-friendly. People do say that bragging is wrong because it just makes people feel kind of left out, and I get that. But that's the only way for people to know who I really am inside, and that I'm not the high schooler you think I am. I am bringing up the fact that I'm family friendly because one of my favorite YouTubers, Dang Matt Smith, is also family friendly. I do believe he deserves an honorary mention. Dang Matt Smith usually does reactions to the funniest kid test answers, crazy riddles, sad life stories, etc. Since he points out in almost every one of his videos that he's family friendly, he promotes the term, making his channel a safe place for little kids who stumble across it. He sometimes mentions Disney and always talks about his childhood just like I do. Here are some examples of Dang Matt Smith proving that he's family friendly.
Why are they using Snow White? Where's Moana at? We want Moana. Comment below and let me know what you guys were for Halloween this year. Family friendly!
But anyway, I think some of you have watched Dang Matt Smith before and probably get that he is family friendly. But trust me, watch his videos, they're cool. You can visit his channel if you like. Now, back to where we were. On top of watching kid-friendly shows, I always felt that games from the 2000s decade were ones that I obviously enjoyed. Now, it's not just the online games for Miniclip, addicting games, and a game, it was downloadable games too. You know, the ones that you could only play for a free trial of 60 minutes. Do you remember that? It kind of sucked. Anyway, the most common downloadable game site, as some of you probably might know, is GameHouse.com. Part of my childhood was also based on downloadable games, the first ones being on GameHouse, which, don't get me wrong, I downloaded a lot of them. A YouTuber named Celestial Shadows is best known for her gameplay videos of downloadable games. Feel free to check her out for yourself. In my case, most of the downloadable games that I used to play are from a long time ago, and it was around the time I discovered GameHouse, which was a much older version of the website. Examples of my favorite downloaded games include Cake Mania, Zuma, Jewel Quest, Collapse, Peggle, Build-A-Lot. You name it! Thanks, Matt? But really, one game that stood out to me was Burger Shop, a game from Go-Bit Games. It was one of the best time management games that I've ever played. This was one game that I will never forget. So you guys are probably thinking, what does this game have anything to do with anything? Well, we are just getting to the most important part of this video. You see, it wasn't Burger Shop that brought me to the realization of this mystery. It was actually the game's sequel, Burger Shop 2. Now, I've known about the sequel about a few years after I played the first Burger Shop, but it wasn't until the spring season of 2018 when I felt like playing it. Since it's been about 8 to 9 years since my initial discovery of the Burger Shop games, I got bored one time and figured I would try out Burger Shop 2 and continue living in the past. I decided to install the mobile version of the game on my Samsung Galaxy S8 and I played from there. The sequel had much more than the first game. It had more levels, customers, and locations, as well as a breakfast and dinner menu. I enjoyed the game so much, and I couldn't stop playing it for a month straight, but this is where my observation skills kicked in. Remember, the time when I rediscovered Burger Shop 2 was in 2018. Because I was a freshman in high school during that time, I was surprised to notice a lot more details added compared to the original game. Burger Shop 2 had 6 soundtracks, while Burger Shop had only one, which was its main theme. The one soundtrack I liked the most from Burger Shop 2 was the one with bongo music. It kept me excited the whole way through, and one of the customers in the game, who was a dog lover, was not in the first game, so I was surprised to see this newcomer in the sequel. Every time the dog lover enters the restaurant, her pet dog usually barks once, meaning that you have to give it a dog biscuit. If you do, the owner will be happy and her patience will be increased. Now, the exact timing of a dog lover entering the restaurant along with the bongo music playing in the background is the true realization of my past memories. I knew that it sounded familiar hearing those two sounds while playing Burger Shop 2. So I thought for a while, and eventually I remembered. My exact memories depicting what can only be what was long lost and will now be uncovered. Now, listen to the following soundtrack carefully. Sound familiar to any of you? Well, this was the exact same soundtrack that Burger Shop 2 reminded me of, and with the dog lover's distinct barking in play, I could only think of how both of them sounded together, and that's how I remembered this exact soundtrack from this online game, one of which I played, of course, when I was 5 or 6. And this game has what I can only say is someone who has been long lost, forgotten, but was somewhat iconic, but only for the time being. And with that, I'm officially ready to tell everyone who he is. His name is Zipper. I have remembered him for a really long time. If it wasn't for me playing Burger Shop 2, I never would have rediscovered him. I will be explaining all of what I know about Zipper and why you rarely see him, besides this video. Zipper is basically just a dog, more specifically a Chihuahua. This is cited from an article from the website outnumbered3to1.com. However, when I searched Zipper on Google, I barely got anything, but the article that I found was written by a blogger named Melissa, who's a mom, wife, friend, lover of food, crafts, flowers and family travel enthusiast, pet mom, and beauty boss. She describes Zipper as a silly cute Chihuahua. Based on Zipper's physical appearance, what Melissa said might have been true, but it might not be since she also doesn't know Zipper too well. If you want to check out the article for yourself, you can. Now, going back to my rediscovery, the dog barks from Burger Shop 2 reminded me of Zipper's barks. There are some cases in which he barks and sometimes he doesn't. Now, the soundtrack that I rediscovered is the main theme from Zipper's Treetop Trouble. In fact, there's also another game which is obviously the same one, but with slightly more changes. That being Zipper's Treetop Trouble 2, with the same soundtrack. Now, you guys might be confused and have a lot of questions. You might ask, how is this tiny dog so iconic to you? Well, my honest opinion will finally be said. Zipper, who seems like such a cute dog that almost no one knows about but me, is actually associated with National Geographic Kids, the same website I discovered at the computer lab like I've mentioned earlier. And to remind you, that visit happened when I was in 1st grade. However, for some reason, we don't see him anymore when it comes to the website being revamped. Why, you might ask? Well, guess what? Even I don't know. So back then, when Zipper existed on the website, he was classified as a virtual pet, which meant you could pretend to play with him as if he was your pet dog? That's what I thought it meant. In 1st grade, I had no idea that he was a virtual pet, like National Geographic describes him as. The status of Zipper's games back then were semi-packed in this category of games Zipper. Using archive.org, I was able to go back to the website during a time where all of Zipper's games existed, and to be exact, there are 14 games of Zipper. Not all of them are considered games since 3 of them are actually just e-card makers, those being Zipper Virtual Pet, Zipper's Puppy Love, and Zipper's Spooky Card. Now, Zipper is considered iconic to me because he's more than just a virtual pet. Since National Geographic is known for sharing interesting facts about the world, most of Zipper's games take place somewhere in the world where Zipper goes on a trip to certain places, from national parks in the eastern US, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, and dark caves in Arizona. And guess what? Those caves are the setting for the game Zipper's Cave Maze, and this game was the same one that I've mentioned at the beginning of my story. and to remind you, I saw one of my classmates play it and was inspired to do so later. This game got me to know Zipper for the first time and eventually opened me up to such an amazing opportunity. Now, knowing all of this could mean that Zipper would be a great character because of some evidence of him being an explorer, going on adventures and stuff. I was kind of expecting better content out of Zipper, but over time, it never happened. This just left me to be upset at the fact that National Geographic Kids does not showcase Zipper anymore, and as of last year, nothing about Zipper was even found on the website. One time, I went to go search for Zipper if he was anywhere on the website, but nothing showed up. All I got was an article about Ronald Reagan, who is obviously not who I was looking for. This broke my heart seeing Zipper completely gone from the website. So I did something that I thought would bring Zipper back, but I will get to that later. You see, my rediscovery of Zipper was on April 5th of 2018. As a reminder, I started playing Burger Shop 2 on my Samsung a few weeks prior to that specific day, and was reminded of him while playing. Once I remembered him, I wanted to tell everyone who he was, and why I barely see Zipper anymore, but it took me until this video's conception for me to truly get the word out about him. I did mention during my freshman year, during the springtime, saying that I missed Zipper completely, so I started telling others about my rediscovery on social media, which was Facebook. Facebook was the only social media platform I used during that time. Immediately after I rediscovered Zipper, I posted a screenshot from a capture of the National Geographic Kids website from archive.org. In this post, I explained how I missed Zipper so much and that National Geographic should bring him back. Sadly, my friends don't even know Zipper, and some of them are ignoring my complaints of wanting him brought back to the internet. I have mentioned earlier that I use Facebook to post my favorite things. Since Zipper is someone who I'll never forget, I decided to post lots and lots about Zipper, and even had a profile picture of him because of how obsessed I was. One of my posts of Zipper is a drawing that I made which depicts Zipper and Dog from World. In my imagination, Dog and Zipper are considered best friends to me. It's okay if you guys have opinions on this. I call this drawing Chocolate Rain, and it's named after the song Chocolate Rain, which has been popular for a really long time. I also made a video with this drawing and the soundtrack a while ago. Feel free to check it out for yourself. So yeah, this is basically my first drawing of Zipper, but one thing that I realized after I drew this, colored it, and even signed it, is that dogs are allergic to chocolate. But that's besides the point. Getting back to my obsession with Zipper, I have posted numerous screenshots, drawings, and even links to page captures of the National Geographic Kids website that archive.org has. There are some significant posts of Zipper that I would like to mention before we move on. I was so obsessed with Zipper that I decided to be him for Halloween in 2018. That night was one that I'll absolutely never forget. Halloween was unforgettable, but not unforgettable enough. You see, it took a lot of commitment to get what I wanted, and I'm not talking about the candy. It was quite obvious that a costume of Zipper doesn't exist, and so the costume needed to be homemade, and I did most of the work myself. Dressing up as Zipper was what I really wanted to do, and I didn't care too much about getting candy. So during that fun night, I was hoping that people would ask who I was, but it barely happened. I even put a picture of Zipper on my candy bag so that people would know. I got compliments about my face paint, but that's about it. I wouldn't possibly think that people would ignore me on purpose. It would probably be natural for people to dress up as dogs, but not one that people wouldn't recognize. So in conclusion, Halloween 2018 was unforgettable overall, because I dressed up as a nostalgic character from my childhood, but other people were just minding their own business and only cared about passing out candy. But despite all of that, I will always remember 2018's Halloween no matter what. We are now approaching the ends of this mystery. So as of my rediscovery of Zipper, I was trying to search for any remains of Zipper on the internet. Of course, there would barely be anything of him on the web. Usually, when I search up Zipper, I would see this image of Zipper wearing a shirt that says, "Save the Earth." Now, I have seen this before, and it's not because I've searched this up multiple times. It's because I've seen an article on National Geographic Kids' website that had the image. This was also around the time of my initial discovery of Zypper when I was in first grade. Now, this image was from a website with the URL sustainableventura.tv. When I went to the website, there was a subtitle saying that this image was illustrated by Nathan Jurevicius. Nathan is an artist from Australia who is best known for his creations of Scary Girl. Because of this, he is nicknamed Scary Nathan. After seeing that Nathan was cited for his creation of Zypper, I figured I'd do research on the artist himself. Eventually, I found his Facebook profile, and I asked him if he was actually the creator of Zypper. He said he was, and I felt so happy. And so we now discovered that I know Zypper, Nathan knows Zypper, and Melissa knows Zypper. To remind you where we started, Melissa's the author of this particular blog on outnumbered3to1.com, where she mentions Zypper. This blog is actually a closed giveaway for a 2012 National Geographic Kids Almanac, which was posted back in 2011. Melissa mentions how Zypper is found throughout the magazine and alerts readers to cool clicks. I'm not sure what that meant until I decided to do even more research. I was searching through page after page after page until I found results which were on Google Books. There are previews of old almanacs from National Geographic Kids. An example would be from the 2010 almanac. In the index, it does say that Nathan did illustrate Zypper, which was good to know, but what I never expected to see was that Zypper was actually in the magazine 3 times. The term cool clicks made a lot more sense to me as a link to the website that takes you to a page where you can learn more about what's in the almanac would be given right beside Zypper. After seeing these, I now knew that Zypper has not only been in those subcategory of games on the website, but that he used to be in the magazines as well. Seeing all this information about Zypper at this time and how I think he could have been a big success is where I really wanted him back, no doubt. So shortly after my rediscovery and before I tried to research Zypper's disappearance, I wanted to find out if there were results elsewhere. Like I've mentioned before, there's barely any images or results of Zypper anywhere, and not even on the National Geographic Kids website. And do you know what's really crazy? Not even Akinator knows who Zypper is. Akinator guesses pretty much almost any character, so I tried numerous times to try and get him to guess Zypper, but he never does. I would get the most ridiculous results, with some dog being the most common one. Since Akinator fails to guess Zypper, I end up defeating him every time. I even submitted a request for Zypper to be guessed by Akinator after I was asked who I was thinking of. I even posted it on Facebook, claiming that the result for Akinator to guess Zypper was taken down. One of my friends says it's not true and that the result didn't exist in the first place. This made me even more upset. However, I discovered some information that I missed when going back to play Zypper's games on archive.org. I noticed on one of the games that Zypper's games were created by Soap. If you right-click on the game, the options will say that the game was created by Soap Creative. I did research on Soap and discovered that they were founded in Sydney, Australia. I decided to visit their website and got to their games gallery. And so, when I looked through the page, I found 5 of Zypper's games. Playing those games on Soap's website isn't a problem since they work just fine. I was happy to see that there was some other place where you can be able to freely play Zypper games. But shortly after, Soap's main page contains a message where the company closed their doors and had decided to move on. This was concerning to me since Soap was able to create all those games of Zypper just so National Geographic can have content of Zypper on their website. Feel free to read about this update by going to the link in the description. With Soap making a change for their next chapter, and National Geographic Kids' website totally changing their looks, I decided that it would be best to contact National Geographic Kids as soon as possible. And this was what I said I would have no choice to do, way earlier in the video. During June of 2019, I sent National Geographic Kids an email explaining why I missed Zypper and why I want him back. I also mentioned how Soap was somehow involved in getting Zypper into the website and that I would also reach out to Soap as well. Most importantly, I asked them why Zypper is not associated with National Geographic anymore. When I sent that email, they said that they would get back to me. I've waited and waited and waited, and I never got a reply from them. I even tried sending him that same email from my regular Gmail account and still didn't get a reply from them. This started to make me feel irritated, because I was expecting a reply from both of my accounts, and I haven't heard from them in months. But I've read that my email couldn't be received because of encryption. So that means my emails never even got read by anyone in the first place. I couldn't take it anymore, so I resorted to making this video. The final reason that I have for this video is one that most of you probably know. All of Zipper's games are very old and run on Adobe Flash. I've been using archive.org ever since my rediscovery in order to go back and play those games, and when trying to search for Zipper on the web, there would be other sites that would have some of those games, but not including Soap. An example of one of those websites would be webpause.com. By the way, I don't recommend you check out that website since they rip games from multiple different websites. I'm just giving an example. Adobe Flash has been an astonishing software used to play most of my favorite online games, but what's disappointing is that there have been announcements made of Flash having to be shut down by the end of 2020. Because Flash will be shutting down, that means all the Flash games that I've ever played throughout my childhood will be gone, never to be played again. So if I were to play Zipper's games again by going to archive.org or any other foreign website, I'd never get to play them, ever. Flash will be taking loads of media with them. This makes me very sad because knowing that Flash, that has been a huge part of my life, especially taking my most memorable character, Zipper, with it, is just hard to take in. I've done everything I could to try and make Zipper known, but it has come to my determination that he absolutely needs to be mentioned in a YouTube video for the entire world to see. I believe that I'm the only person talking about Zipper on YouTube. The fact that it's been almost 10 years and I had to remember Zipper for myself almost 2 years ago is something that has made me who I am today. Sometimes I compare the situation to the plot of the movie Yesterday, where the main character, Jack Malik, is the only one who remembers the Beatles. The exact situation in that film correlates to how I'm feeling about the situation where I'm the only one who remembers Zipper. Now, I don't care that I'm one of those channels that isn't very popular and that I won't get much views out of it. All I'm hoping is that by the end of 2020, someone will eventually see this video and reach out in bringing Zipper back to light. I thought I'd make this video so I can have something to remember Zipper by when Flash shuts down in the future. Whether people care or don't care, I just think people should at least know what has been long lost from one of the best magazine companies of all time. With everything I tried, from posting, cosplaying, complaining, sending emails, and for almost 2 years now, I am tired of waiting. YouTube has officially become my option for spreading the word about Zipper. Even today, I'm still looking for answers as to why Zipper doesn't appear barely anywhere anymore. I know for a fact that National Geographic is responsible. I'm not trying to be a threat, but I believe that someone is hiding something, and people never told anyone but myself. I'm hoping the answer will be out soon, and who knows what could possibly happen next to Zipper. Either way, I'm positive that as of now, the story will eventually be heard by someone who would be willing to help bring Zipper back. And to conclude, I would like to say, I'll never forget you, Zipper. Never for a long, long time. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed my life story about Zipper. Feel free to subscribe. If you have any questions, just contact me with Discord direct messaging. You're also free to join this server that I made shortly before this video. And also, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter as well. Anyway, this is Cartoon Earth Boy 2, signing out. Bye!